one of the big problems at the modern world is education system, I would say. When we think about educations, we tend to think of the formal education from which we give from the schools and the university and so on. But the word education is not about the process. It is about it is about something which can give you a capacity, the capabilities. Educare, that is a Latin word, which means to bring out. It is not about putting in. But when we think of the education at the moment, we are thinking of all the way you stuff in the things. You put in the things. So you have to make a memory, you memorize it, you read the book and memorize the book, you read the facts and memorize the facts. But actually it is not. Buddhism is, from the Buddha's point of view, he said that Buddhism is an education system. It's called Trisikha or Tisikha. Tisikha means Sikha means education, Ti means a tree. The whole Buddhist value is about education. That's why I sometimes avoid myself to call Buddhism as a religion. I said because Buddha himself, he said that it is an education system. And education system, the way the Buddha emphasized is how do you educate human being, everything, in terms of educate in the sila, that is a society, the other people, how do you live in there? And the second is that how do you educate yourself, the way of your development, the way of your thinking, way of your actions. And then, of course, in order to make yourself and the society equilibrium, then you need to educate in the wisdom, the panya, sila, samadhi, and panya. This is three different education, say called morality, meditation, and mental development, 3M, I guess. It's easier way to think. So these are the Buddha's foundation of what we call education. But in modern education, we are focusing more or less on the material prosperity economy as the main focus of education. Education system become the factory where we produce productions in order to serve the society. So all the education, the university and building the people for to support the world economic system, all the factory, all those things. So as many educationists, they used to say that the modern education is in the wrong in sense that we are, it's just like a factory. We put based on our age group, we put based on our culture, I don't know, whatever it is. You put it in the machine, and the machine will process everything, trying to see that it is the same, quality has to be same, just like any product. And then if there is something wrong with the product, then you will that this is a bad people. This is you have to waste. There's some waste is coming. So the good people will go to the doctor or pilot. I don't know. So you will have all this category, just like the factory made sort of a product. So this is what education in the modern in this 20th century, 20th and 21st century has been going through. And in that sense, I would like to just give you one story in Thailand about 200 years ago, when Thailand was facing the imperialism, the colonialism at the time, with the process of the British is invading, the French, America was invading everywhere, and then Thailand was already, it's only one country would survive at that time. The Burma, Laos, Cambodia, Malaysia is all taken by the colonialism already. So they are trying to take the Thailand. And the king of Thailand at the time, they thought that how can we stop this imperialism here? And because they have this military power, and they thought that they can do everything. And of course, those countries at the time in Asia, they didn't have that strong military power. So what can we do? So after looking at the situation, the King Ramada V at the time, he understood that, okay, there's one point why these Western want to take over this country. Of course, one is for their own wealth, resource they want to rob all the resources they have. The second is that they thought that all our Asians are uncivilized. And because they are uncivilized, they are the barbarism, they are the savagism. They don't know what is culture, what is civilized people. And then how in the West they look at the civilized, they said that they have education. But in the East, they don't have education at that time. So the king then trying to prove that we do have education in Thailand, and we are civilized people. So in order to do that, so he started to let all his royalties and people to work on set up education. On the process of setting up Thai education, first Thai education at the time, so he did a research. So some of the Thai ambassador from England, they sent all the English curriculum into the king. From the French, they sent all the French curriculum, and from different places. And then the king went through all those curriculum from different part of the West. And then he said that, oh, there's a lot of good things. But all this knowledge, all these sciences leading to corruptions. Because these make people's mind berserk. These make people's mind not in peace. So there are good things there. But there is a very important thing. We need to have a morality. We need to have a religion. We need to have a spiritual sort of a side to able to control, to able to restrain the negative side of all these sciences, all these knowledges. And that's how he started the Thai education, modern education, with that, taking all this good part of the West, but he put it under the channel of the Buddhism. He used the Buddhism as a main channel. So all those teachings are just part of the education you get it, but it's made on the Buddhism. Because Buddhism gives you the idea that whether you should continue or whether you should stop based on the benefit, based on the merit basis or whatever it is. So it will go based on the situation, phenomenon, whether it is beneficial for human, for the world, for the sensual being, and so and so. If it is fine, then if there is not creating any negative byproduct, then of course we will say that that is a good thing to carry on. And then even those knowledges, those sciences, once you develop, it will be slowly corrupted by its way again. So you need to have this, the idea of rationality and idea of Buddhism as a rationality to really, channel it all the time. And that is how, in the beginning, Thai Buddhism or the education in Thailand was started. But very sad to say that once the development take over and this all the westernized internationalization is getting more power, and then all those new very good things is and they put in the bin. Now all the world is going through the Western way of education, and then that's why we are facing the same problem and a global problem because of the way we teach our students, the way we are teaching our kids. Because, for example, if you are teaching mathematics, you will never think of teaching the morality in your class. You will teach this math. But what about the kid's behavior? And if his kid is behaving bad, if his kid is behaving something wrongly, and you will say that is not my business. That is a part of a task of another teacher who look after ethics or whatever subject. And if you are trying to push that responsibility here and there, and you are thinking that your subject is the most important thing to make this world purpose, and that is a wrong way of thinking. Because everything is holistic. You have to think in holistic. Yes, mathematics is important, but in what sense? If you are in the forest, maybe sometime it may be you don't need mathematics to survive. So, but you need to have what you call this human responsibility, whether you are in whatever situation you are. So if you are teaching mathematics, it is not only for your economics point of view, but you have to think moral mathematics. You have to think moral science. You have to think moral business. So if you have thinking that put the human in front of this any subject, then it will make that whole subject, I think, a little bit balanced. But at the moment, you forget yourself, you forget all humanity. And you are talking about business, you forget the human. You are talking about economics, you forget the human. You are talking about the politics, and you forget the human. So all the big problem at the moment is that we are human, but you are forgetting yourself. You are forgetting our world, but you are going for one extreme. And that is what Buddha said, that not go for extreme, go for the middle path.